Hey, good evening. I'm Ken. I'm welcoming you to Freedom Speech and You, the show that is about politics and your opinions on politics as long as you remain civil. Um, that is the focus of what we have to do with our show. That's what makes us different is that we do listen to the chat and um, tend to focus on things that you want to discuss. And my keying is not exactly perfect tonight. Let's see if I can tweak that a little bit. For the settings, maybe make it a little bit cleaner, perhaps. That's worse. It's a little better. That's more tolerable. A little bit of noise in there, not too bad. Okay, so we have in chat, we have Wes Webb, Embezzler, Human F Being, Aaron West, and Benny Loco. Welcome to the show. I'm sure others will be along the way shortly. Tonight's topics are the Trump subpoena, Steve Bannon being arrested because he didn't answer his subpoena, the upcoming election, and the necessity to vote. These are the topics for myself and our executive producer, Andrea. So that's what we got going on. Not sure what the delay is. Shouldn't be too bad of a delay. I'd have to reload your page if you're having issues. And so unless you're talking about the fact that the delay and obfuscation on the part of the Republicans, you could be talking about that. So yeah, trying to delay us from finding out anything. And we should have a guest tonight, but I will wait and tell you who our guest is tonight when our guest gets here. So we're just waiting about an hour for our guest to get here. We are supposed to have a guest tonight. So that's exciting. Anyway, Andrea had a couple of things that she wanted me to go over, so I will get right on that. So many things that she wanted me to get right on top of, and I will see if I can put myself in the corner of this. There, that's better. She wanted me to define for the audience, and I think what she's really saying here is to define these things for the audience that maybe doesn't think like us, that isn't supportive of democracy and the Democratic Party. But this is what she sent to me. She sent me, knowing what we know today about January 6th and all the evidence that has presented, we have heard the likes of Glenn Kirshner, Midas Touch, and Michael Popak, as well as the J6 committee. And what do these words mean? And how does that relate to the president? First, the word treason. Treason is a noun. It's the crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign or overthrow the government. This is what Trump was trying to do with sending the masses of his minions, and why it is vital for the January 6th committee to show this and for the DOJ, mainly Merrick Garland, to charge. Now let's look at espionage, she says. Espionage. Espionage is a noun, the practice of spying or using spies, typically by governments to obtain political and military information. This is what the DOJ, again, Merrick Garland, are referring to when talking about the documents that were seized by the FBI at Mar-a-Lago, as well as possible Bedminster and the crypt, meaning Donald Trump's ex-wife, Ivana, and the residence in New York, since the DOJ hasn't disclosed, and we aren't aware that Trump has sold any documents to foreign countries, i.e. Russia or China. These are serious crimes, and the DOJ has a very difficult time to prove and also charge a president, even a former president, with these charges. I believe, says Andrea, the DOJ should, so no other president can do what Trump has done, and Trump can never run for any political office again. So, we're talking about the acts of espionage committed by Trump and the treasonous things that he has done. So those were the things that necessitate the use of the subpoena and what he's being subpoenaed for. So what does the subpoena say? So we need to look at that really quickly. So Donald Trump subpoena. And I apologize. A lot of the shows that you watch are done with more powerful computers than what I have right now. So they have pages loaded ahead of time. With what I'm running with, I have to load things as we go. So just be patient with me. So Donald Trump subpoena. There it goes. This should be Poena. Hello, Andrea. So I think from this article that I'm loading, I can then get the actual subpoena itself. So again, be patient as my computer loads that. So it's loading. How's everyone feeling this evening? Okay, here's the document. All I have to do is set up the share. And remove the one that one. Okay, I took that one out. I have to add this one in. So hang on. A couple more clicks. Couple more clicks. So here's the actual subpoena that they sent to Donald Trump. So see if we can make that bigger. Can I make that bigger? Probably with a little bit of adjustment. Yeah, poof. That should make it bigger. Okay. United States House of Representatives Resolution 503 instructs the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol, to investigate the facts, circumstances, and causes of the January 6th attack and issues relating to the peaceful transfer of power. Pursuant to that directive, we have interviewed more than 1,000 witnesses, reviewed over 1 million documents, conducted public hearings, and vindicated our rights in court against those who have tried to keep relevant information from the Select Committee. As demonstrated in our hearings, we have assembled overwhelming evidence, including from dozens of your former appointees and staff, that you personally orchestrated and oversaw a multi-part effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election and obstruct the peaceful transition of power. This multi-part effort included, but was not limited to, purposely and maliciously disseminating false allegations of fraud related to the 2020 presidential election in order to aid your effort to overturn the election and for purposes of soliciting contributions, attempting to corrupt the Department of Justice, included by soliciting and enlisting department officials to make false statements and aid your effort to overturn the presidential election. Without any evidentiary basis, illegally pressuring state officials and legislators to change the results of the election in their states, orchestrating and overseeing an effort to obtain and transmit false electoral candidates to Congress and the National Archives. Despite knowing specifically that it was illegal, corruptly pressuring your own vice president to unilaterally refuse to count electoral votes during Congress's joint session on January 6. Pressuring members of Congress to object to valid slates of electors from several states, filing false information under oath in federal court, summoning tens of thousands of supporters to Washington and knowing they were angry and some were armed, sending them to the Capitol, sending a social media message at 2:24 p.m. while knowing full well that the violent attack on the Capitol was occurring, in which you incited further violence by publicly condemning your vice president, and refusing for hours to disband your rioting supporters by instructing them to leave the Capitol while you watched the attack unfold on television. You took all these actions despite the rulings of more than 60 courts rejecting your election fraud claims and other challenges to the legality of the 2020 presidential election, despite having specific and detailed information about the Justice Department and your senior campaign staff informing you your election claims were false, and despite your obligation as president to ensure that laws of our nation are faithfully executed. In short, you were at the center of the first and only effort by any U.S. president to overturn an election and obstruct the peaceful transition of power, ultimately culminating in a bloody attack on our own Capitol and on the Congress itself. The evidence demonstrates that you knew this activity was illegal and unconstitutional, and also knew that your assertions of fraud were false. But to be clear, even now you claim that you actually believe your own false election claims. That is not a defense. Your subjective belief could not render this conduct justified, excusable, or legal. Because of your central role in each element of these actions, the Select Committee unanimously directed the issuance of a subpoena seeking your testimony and relevant documents in your possession of these and related topics. This subpoena calls for testimony regarding your dealings with multiple individuals who have now themselves invoked their Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination regarding their communications with you, including Roger Stone, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, U.S. Army retired John Eastman, Jeffrey Clark, Kelly Ward. These Fifth Amendment assertions made by persons with whom you interacted related directly to you and your conduct. They provide specific examples where your truthful testimony under oath will be important. In addition, as is likely obvious from the topics identified in the bullets above, we are considering multiple legislative recommendations intended to provide further assurance that no future president could succeed at anything even remotely similar to the unlawful steps you took to overturn the election. Your testimony and documentary evidence would further inform the Select Committee's ongoing work. We recognize that a subpoena to a former president is a significant and historic action. We do not take this action lightly, but as you likely know, we would not be the first former president to testify before Congress or to receive a congressional subpoena. Former presidents John Quincy Adams, John Tyler, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Herbert Hoover, Harry Truman, and Gerald Ford each testified before Congress after they left office. President Roosevelt explained during his congressional testimony, an ex-president is merely a citizen of the United States like any other citizen, and it is his plain duty to try to help this committee or respond to its invitation. That's a quote from President Roosevelt. Even sitting presidents, including Abraham Lincoln and Gerald Ford, also testified before Congress. Further, both former and sitting presidents, including Presidents Nixon, Tyler, and Quincy Adams, have provided evidence in response to congressional subpoenas. This subpoena hereby orders the production of relevant documentary material as set forth on the attached schedule by November the 4th, 2022, followed by your participation in one or more days of deposition testimony begin on or about November 14th, 2022, and continuing on subsequent days as necessary. The deposition will be under oath and will be held by the professional staff of the Select Committee, including former federal prosecutors as well as members. As with all witnesses who are required to appear before the Select Committee, you may raise any relevant privileged objections to specific questions asked during your deposition. If, like other witnesses identified above, you intend to invoke your Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination for your testimony, please so inform the Select Committee promptly. Likewise, for any document described in the schedule, you may make relevant objections in a privilege log, which shall be produced by the Select Committee to the Select Committee by the subpoena return date. Any privilege assertions should be made with accompanying information sufficient to allow an informed assessment of the validity of the asserted privilege. We recognize that the Supreme Court has ruled that former presidents retain the limited ability to assert executive privilege, but any such privilege is qualified. And as the D.C. Circuit explained in the case involving a request for your presidential records, the Select Committee has a uniquely compelling need for the requested information. And she cites where that was stated. The attached schedule is narrowly focused on your records in your custody and control that you are uniquely positioned to provide to the Select Committee in light of your central role in the multi-part effort to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election and interfere with the peaceful transfer of power. The Select Committee looks forward to your cooperation with this subpoena. It's signed Bernie G. Thompson, Chairman, and Liz Cheney, Vice Chair. And then they go into the schedule of what he's supposed to reveal. Hello, Elizabeth. Welcome. Hello, Dark Webster. Anybody else in chat sneak in? Hello, TV2 Live. Okay, I just caught up on your chat. So that's the stuff. That's the stuff that's in the subpoena. We could go through the litany of stuff, but I think that's quite enough for now. And I will just take that down real quick. And if you're interested in that and you don't know where to find that, I'm going to quickly, while I still have it, I'm going to show you what article I found at LinkedIn. So this is the article that I found at LinkedIn. So the article that I found at LinkedIn is on CBS. And it is Trump subpoenaed by Jan 6 committee. Oops, let me bring it down. Trump subpoenaed by Jan 6 committee for deposition in mid-November by Catherine Watson, which was printed on the 21st of October. So that's on the CBS News website at cbsnews.com. And where I found it in that article is right below the video, right where this hyperlink right here is, issued the subpoena to Trump in a letter. So that's where I got it. That's that. Boom. Back to me. Okay. Now, the other thing we were going to cover initially was the Bannon being arrested for not answering his subpoena. So Bannon arrested for failure to appear. See if I can pull that up on news. Should be a newer story than this. Can we get this sorted by I'll just bump into this article and see if this is only updated like there, but there should be more articles like that. So as I explained to some of the viewers earlier, one of the reasons why I can't just jump right to an article is because of my computer power. So I don't have enough power to have articles preloaded like other shows do. So just bear with me for a second. Put some more details in that. There we go. It's Washington Post. So there's NBC. I guess maybe I could use that one. That one might not be in a paywall. Hopefully not. If you tuned in late, we defined a couple terms earlier. So we defined espionage and treason, so as to explain to those people that don't pay anything, pay zero attention to politics. You can take them back to the beginning of the video and have them, look at that, and then they'll see why they're investigating Trump. But again, just have them go over the details. So here's a quick what to know from NBC about Bannon's arrest. So let me put that up on the screen. So make that bigger. So what it says, what to know about Steve Bannon's sentencing hearing. Former Trump advisor Steve Bannon was sentenced to 4 months behind bars and a $6,500 fine in D.C. federal court Friday. The judge will allow Bannon to appeal before serving that sentence. Boo-hoo. He should just have to be put in there, but the law is the law. Bannon was convicted in July on 2 contempt of Congress charges for ignoring subpoenas from the House committee investigating the Jan 6 riot. And he had said, hello, Robin. He had said that he was going to show up to testify, but then he didn't show up. Prosecutors asked the judge to sentence Bannon to 6 months in jail and a $200,000 fine. Bannon is also facing trial in New York for allegedly defrauding donors in the We Build a Wall effort. Two days ago, Rebecca Chavod writes, associated with this article, Bannon defended his decision not to comply with the Jan 6 committee's subpoena and said that the notion that he thinks he is above the law is absolute and total lie, in his words. Speaking outside the courthouse following his sentence, the former Trump advisor said that there will be, quote, multiple areas of appeal by his legal team. Andrea says he shouldn't be allowed to appeal because he chose not to show up. Benny Loca says the law is the law for us, but not for them. Yes, unfortunately, seems so. On November 8th, he continued, they're going to have a judgment on the legitimate Biden regime, and quite frankly, that Nancy Pelosi and the entire committee, as we know which way that's going, said Bannon. He continued, quote, either they've already been turfed out like Liz Cheney, right? Or they have quit like Kinzinger and other Democrats, or they're about to be beaten like Lurie and others, or they will lose their power in becoming a minority, end quote. He went on, quote, this is democracy. The American people are weighing and measuring what went on with the Justice Department and how they comported themselves, end quote. Bannon also said, if the GOP takes the majority in the House, Attorney General Merrick Garland will, quote, end up being the first Attorney General that's brought up on charges of impeachment, and he will be removed from office, end quote. Boy, he's a cocky sort. Hi, Kelly. Dara Gregorian added, MAGA world standing with Bannon. As the judge prepared to hand down Bannon's sentence, some notable figures in MAGA world took to social media to show their support for the former Trump strategist. Okay, Kelly. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican, Georgia, Judicial Watch head Tom Fitton, right-wing activist Jack Posobiec, and former New York City Police Commissioner and Trump pardon recipient Bernie Kerik all took to Twitter to post, quote, I stand with Steve Bannon, end quote. Well, finally, she has little to say. For once, she doesn't have to say a whole bunch. Judge allowed Bannon to appeal before serving sentence by Ryan J. Riley. Nichols said that if Bannon files a timely appeal, he will issue an order suspending the prison sentence until the appeals process plays out. So I wonder if, like, is judge in the Bannon case a Republican appointee? Hey Siri, is Judge Nichols in the Bannon case a Trump employee? Nope. Never mind, Siri. Hey Siri.
Okay.
Hey Siri, is the judge in the Bannon case a Trump appointee?
Okay. I found this on the web for is the judge in the Bannon case Arab Trump appointee. Check it out.
So maybe in the details, down in the details. Yep, he's a Trump appointee. Well, we knew that based on the ruling. No surprise there. Okay, so we saw the sentence earlier. We talked about that. 4 months, $6,500 fine. Judges said that, quote, well, Judge Nichols said that while Bannon poses a, quote, very small risk of recidivism with regard to the congressional subpoenas, end quote, there was a need to remind the public to cooperate with congressional investigations. Quote, others must be deterred from committing similar crimes, end quote. So, yeah, but he's being too lenient on him. Kelly says Trump appointed judges scare me. Yes. Yes, he should have had to stay in jail. Benny Loco says imprison them for the time they deserve. Maybe that would work as a deterrent to committing crime. How about we do that? Elizabeth says every charge is in a different jurisdiction, and Dark Webster said it was a simple question of who the Trump appointee was in the room. Yeah, easily. So this was October 21, and Ryan Riley said these things. So who is Ryan J. Riley? Let's pump that out. Other computers. Ryan J. Riley is a justice reporter covering DOJ. Okay. So I bumped that out. Now I gotta go back. So anyway, that's the ruling. That's what happened there. Bannon is getting away fairly easy. Let's see what else was in Ryan Riley's tweet. I'm loading that. So I had that looked like a threaded tweet, but now it's not showing up like a threaded tweet. But it just says currently happening in DC federal court, Steve Bannon sentencing, Jan 6 rioter sentencing, Oath Keepers trial of Capitol Police officer who told Jan 6 rioter to remove Facebook content about storming Capitol. And that was 10:15 a.m. Eastern time on October 21st. So yeah, apparently there's not much more to that. Okay, so we had the Trump subpoena, which we read. We had the Bannon sentencing. Well, now we want to talk about the election. So very critical to talk about the election. The election is coming up on November 8th. And there's a lot on the ballot this election, specifically the right of a woman to choose what to do with her body. Because in light of Roe being struck down by the Supreme Court, that all reverted back to the states. And so we have all these different states that now have all of these self-triggered laws to do what they can do. And so we have a lot of new laws on the books that we didn't have before, that Roe kept having on the books. And to discuss tonight's topic about the elections and to offer her own viewpoint on the topics that we've already discussed of Donald Trump subpoena and Steve Bannon's being found guilty for a lack of it appearing on his subpoena, to talk about the importance of getting out there to vote, and to talk about her podcast and why she did it. We have Kelly Cross here tonight of Gaslighting. So I'm going to welcome Kelly Cross to the broadcast.
Hello.
Kelly.
How are you, Ken? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Some of you may recognize Kelly's voice from Andrea's audio podcast, Living.
Yeah, I still haven't even listened to that yet.
Yes. Or you may just simply know Kelly from Gaslighting. So Kelly, how about you tell us about gaslighting and why you did the podcast?
Okay, well, actually, it doesn't really relate to politics that much, but I did start kind of veering into politics. I'm very interested in cults and coercive control and stuff like that. So I started to do a few on a few different cults like Scientology and Nexium and stuff like that. And then I started to veer into QAnon and the Trump cult is what I call it. So then I kind of started doing more politics, and I think I might kind of veer more into politics now. But yeah, I haven't recorded my podcast in a while. I've just been really busy, but I'm kind of thinking about doing a YouTube show too. So we'll see.
Well, you might want to do a YouTube show of your own, or you might want
Mhm.
to have us host for you. You just have to see what you want to do
Yeah.
and when.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's good to have you on tonight.
Thank you. I've never been on a show before, so I'm a little nervous.
Well, you seem to be doing really well. So,
Well, I grew up as an actress, so I'm not shy or anything. So,
okay.
so when you were talking about the Trump subpoena, Trump is going to definitely do a legal challenge, right?
He's probably going to do a legal challenge. I
So
would expect no less.
what I learned earlier today was that when Nixon did his legal challenge against the tapes, it took them 4 months to rule. So we'll see how fast they rule on that. But,
Yeah.
if Democrats lose the House, I guess that's the end of the J6 committee. So the start of the Dr. Fauci, Hunter Biden investigations, I'm assuming. Which I'm
Okay.
wondering, do they have to show up for their subpoenas, or is it people don't have to show up for subpoenas anymore, right? Haven't Republicans established that?
It seems that way sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So Dark Webster says in the chat, tell her there's only about 10 of us.
Oh, okay. It's Andrea, Benny Loco, other people that I know from House Sparks show. So
Right. Andrea says Kelly has been in a few movies. Maybe you want to tell us about some of
oh
those.
my gosh, just as an extra.
Okay.
I was in Wayne's World 2, and I was on ER and Judging Amy, but just as an extra. I wasn't like I didn't act in them.
There's other things in chat.
I can't see the chat. I guess because I'm not signed up on this app or whatever.
Yeah, and the one thing about that, we were
Maybe I
using
can see it on
we
my
were
phone.
using a different program where we could put the chat on the screen, but there
I
were
can
some
probably
issues
get
with that program. So
Got it. I can probably get it on my phone though. Sorry.
yeah, if you load
So
it
this
up on
is
your
kind of
phone,
an
then
yeah,
turn the sound down.
this is kind of an informal show. Cool. All right, I feel more comfortable now.
It's very informal. We've only been doing this for a few months now. I think
Right.
maybe a little bit longer.
I'm gonna have to get a better background. Your background is so nice. Where do you live, Ken?
In Florida.
Oh, nice. Okay.
This is not real though. This is all fake.
Oh, really?
If you look right here, you'll see like a little bit of sparkle where the chroma key kind of is
That's
destroyed.
hilarious. I need a fake background too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all fake because this wall is actually behind me is actually green. And when I hold up a green cup instead of a red cup, most nights I hold up a green cup, it actually disappears.
Yeah, I don't really mind being on camera, but I broke my partial teeth up front, so that's the only thing I don't like about it. Otherwise, I'm fine. But I just have to get over it.
I'm used to holding my mouth shut, so if I show you my teeth, they're not all that pretty. I mean, I got one going sideways, so.
Oh Lord. So you went over the Trump subpoena and the Bannon sentence?
Yeah.
Now Bannon's being charged with something else though too, right?
He's being charged by not showing up to the Jan 6 committee for his subpoena.
Right, but isn't he getting charged for something else as well?
He's being charged also in New York for
Build the
Wall. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I really thought Bannon was going to jail the other day. I was really bummed that he didn't.
Yeah, he seems to get more breaks than he's allowed. But again, consider the fact that the judge is a Trump appointee. So
yeah. I feel like isn't Judge Nichols the one who also let off a Jan 6 defendant?
probably.
I think it's possible. Yeah.
Let me look. So anyway, with the election, what are your key things? Why do you think people should vote in the election?
Well, I kind of feel like, well, obviously the Roe v. Wade thing is probably the most important thing right now, besides saving democracy, of course. But I feel like you can really get to voters more with the Roe v. Wade thing. I know me personally, I live in California. I'm in a very blue area. So I do get people to vote, mostly young people, though. You can't really change the mind of these Republicans. I mean, it's near impossible. But with the young people, you can talk to them and get them registered to vote online. And I've gotten a lot of people to vote, at least in the last presidential election I did. So I'll definitely be doing that again. I don't know if you saw that abortion video on Twitter in the last couple of days with all the personal stories of the women that were having miscarriages and almost dying and couldn't get the care they needed. It was just horrifying to me. I mean, just crazy. It's one thing to, ban abortions for, I guess, elective reasons, which is ridiculous to me anyway, but to have women dying and almost dying and saying they, need to come back when they're sicker is just disgusting to me. I'm appalled, really.
Okay, so you mentioned the person that he let off. That was Garrett Miller.
Oh, so I was right? Okay.
Yes, and that was back as far back as like March of this year. The article is from March 7th. So, and there's other articles about that. So there was a DOJ appeal in June. And there was something written up on August.
I just don't understand it. Just because they're Trump appointees doesn't mean that, they've been judges their whole lives. Why would they feel like a fealty to Donald Trump? I just don't get it.
So there was an appeal, but I don't know if they've given an answer to that. So I guess the ideal thing would be to go back and look up his name again. So Garrett Miller. So let me just do that. Garrett Miller case outcome.
Yeah, I think he's the only one that's been found not guilty. There's been like hundreds of convictions and.
So the Department of Justice has a thing. He was charged with civil disorder, obstruction of official proceeding, assaulting, resisting, impeding certain officers, interstate threats to injure or kidnap, entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds, impeding ingress and egress in a restricted building or grounds, disorderly conduct in a Capitol building, impeding passage through the Capitol grounds or buildings, parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building. He was arrested in Richardson, Texas. Reigned. So doesn't really say much else. And this is on the Justice website. So I guess they're still working that out.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
There was a lot of Jan 6 defendants from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I believe. I feel like there's still so much we don't know. Still so much.
You mentioned that you investigated the Trump cult. How specifically did you get into that?
I started doing QAnon, and I just have always found that very interesting for like the last few years. And then I just kind of veered into like just Trumpism being a cult in itself. The people that follow him around to rallies every weekend, and I've only seen a little bit of the rally from last night, but whew, he is off his rocker, man.
Was
talking
it the
about
same old thing, or was
it
it?
was, but there was a couple new things. Like he was talking about these two reporters who got Pulitzers for reporting on the Russia investigation. And so he says he's now going to sue Pulitzer because it's just crazy. I can't even explain it. It's just because those stories are fake. That's what he said, basically.
Right. He just tries to sue everybody that he can sue that mentions anything.
Isn't there laws against like suing frivolously over and over and over again?
Andrea says in comment he's added some BS. So I guess he's
Yeah,
added
I'm sure
more to it.
The suing the Pulitzer thing to me, though, was just like, oh my God. Man, I just can't believe he's still walking around free. Enough is enough, you know? And every time I think that like he's gonna be held accountable, like when we found out he was tampering with witnesses, I thought maybe something would happen, but nothing ever happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so frustrating. The wheels of justice just move so slowly.
Yeah.
I just have faith that something's going to happen, though. I just can't. I won't be able to believe it if nothing ever happens to him.
Andrea asks, how can he sue? He's broke.
Well, he's not broke, though. He's not. He makes so much money off that Save America PAC. That's why he's not running. That's why he's not announcing he's running, because he can't grift off that PAC anymore if he announces, right?
Right.
So, I mean, he flew in on that plane last night, and he calls it Trump Force One. I don't know if you saw that. But his plane is all fixed. He's not broke. That's the thing, you know.
It's just amazing.
It really is.
Andrea asks, why haven't they checked the crypt? Meaning Ivanka's crypt.
Ivana's grave. I don't know. I don't know. My mom keeps talking about that, and I'm like, I don't think so. I don't know. I'm just curious as to know why they haven't searched his other properties yet. I mean, I think that's coming. It's got to be.
Maybe that just takes more time to produce the documents to make that possible, or maybe they're waiting to see, you know, because one of the things about him constantly doing these rallies is that he is constantly giving away more and more information.
Right. That's why I almost want him back on Twitter. Like, I wouldn't mind it, because he would just, you know, admit to more crimes every day.
And just, you know, how do you feel about the fact that he has to get his information in like 4 days before the election, but they're not going to have him testify until 6 days after the election? Like,
that's when they're calling him?
Does that have? Yeah, they want his information in about any objections that he has 4 days before the election, but they're doing it after the election. So what's your feeling on that?
I don't know. I mean, the J6 committee will still be around for a little while, you know, even after the election. So I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on that. I don't know.
I'm sure that some people would say that, you know, it's better to have him after the election, because then you can't say, well, it's electioneering because he didn't actually appear before the election.
Yeah. But it's just ridiculous. He's not on the ballot, you know? I mean, it should have nothing to do with the election. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
He sure is interesting.
I think your own investigation would probably tell you that we're in this for years and years to come, correct?
Yeah. Just because, I mean, if you kind of think about it, like, we're just now having the guy from the Parkland shooting on trial, you know, and that happened so long ago. This is going to go on for years. And there's just so many crimes, so many lawsuits. I haven't heard anything about the January 6th lawsuits in over a year. You know, the Eric Swalwell lawsuit, the Capitol Police lawsuit. He hasn't set for depositions for those yet. So I think now he just sat for the E. Jean Carroll deposition, right? So, I mean, that's from years ago as well. So, yeah, this is going to take a long time. And I just hope he stays alive for it, because I don't want him to die before I see him face justice.
I just hope it doesn't go on as long as the Civil War did, because the Civil War was from 1861 to 1865, and yet people are still carrying those flags around. I hope we don't
Right.
have Trump go on for that long.
Well, I think Watergate took a pretty long time, So, yeah, we're in for a long ride. It's just very frustrating. It's just frustrating because Nixon wasn't going out there still committing crimes, still talking every weekend. He's obstructing justice every weekend when he's saying he's going to pardon January 6th defendants. I mean, it's just crazy. That's what's frustrating about it, and that's what's different from the Nixon thing. At least Nixon resigned and, went away. Didn't keep talking about it every weekend.
Yeah. I mean, but you mentioned Watergate. Watergate really does color the Republican thinking, because, that's where they get the idea that, quote unquote, the Democrats are evil.
Yeah. I'm very scared about Republicans taking over the House because, like I said, it's going to be endless investigations, really just wasting everyone's time.
I mean, it was the Republicans who actually committed that crime, but the Republican excuse back then for Watergate being okay was the Democrats are evil and we need to investigate what they're doing.
Right.
So it's been going on all this time.
I mean, this is going to be all about revenge. If they take over the House, it's going to be all about revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, but Trump needed to be investigated. He needed to be.
Yeah.
And
he really does.
I think they really missed an opportunity when they didn't convict him on the second impeachment. I think Mitch McConnell really made a big mistake, and I think he knows it.
Yeah. Benny Loco's basically hinting she's ready to go to war. You can read her comments.
I'm so ready to do some swift justice.
And hi, Trailer Park Todd. Trailer Park Todd tells Benny Loco to hang in there and not get herself arrested for the likes of these people, I guess.
I think Benny Loco, House Sparks tells you all that at the same time too. Sometimes too. Like, it's okay, Benny Loco, just calm down. Oh man. Yeah, it's very anxiety inducing to watch him out there every weekend. It's just very frustrating. So what do you think about the Trump cult? Do you consider it a cult yourself?
I think it is a form of a cult. It is, I think being a former Republican myself and the longtime Democrats can chastise me for that, but I grew up in a house that was Republican centered, and mentioning Watergate was explained away in my house, as necessary because they thought the Democrats were the source of evil back then.
Right.
But you have to remember too, that was also the era of the Southern Democrat. And so the KKK was in the Democratic Party in the South back in those.
Oh, I know. And Republicans love to bring that up all the time, don't they?
And yet now it's in the Republican Party and they don't bring that part up. So,
right.
But yeah, I digressed there a moment and forgot what I was saying, but
you grew up in a Republican household.
Yeah. And so, there was always this, original McCarthy era, as I call it, the hunt for all the communists. And so, anybody that was against the Republican Party was painted as a communist.
Right.
And you still see that today.
Oh yeah. I get called a communist pretty much every day on Twitter.
And so that's what they have perpetuated and believed all these years, is that the fact that McCarthy was shut down, and even though maybe everybody investigated wasn't a communist, there's still communists out there in their opinion, because quote unquote we will infiltrate you from within idea. And so that's what they're looking for, and that's passed down from generation to generation. And so whenever these QAnon conspiracy things come out, it's just like, okay, well, this is the ultimate. And you couple that with the, hi Clayton, you couple that with the evangelical type religion where, the end is coming, you need to be prepared, so you get that kind of thing going on, and then, and all of this mark of the beast in the Bible, and they say, well, that's what the shot is, the injection, the
Oh yeah,
COVID is the mark of the beast, and they couple that with the ability of like, the impending 5G being the ability to pick up the so-called tiny transponder in the shot in the beast,
QAnon is interesting because it's like kind of a culmination of a bunch of different cults and a bunch of different conspiracy theories, like going way back. And there is a podcast called the QAA podcast that's very interesting. And I know they had a guest on one time, and I wish I could remember her name, but she's a historian, and she went through the tattoos on the QAnon shaman. They're all like conspiracy Bible related, very interesting. It's a weird thing, that QAnon thing. I'm very interested in it. I just can't believe there's people, sitting in Dallas waiting for JFK Jr. to come back or whatever they're doing down there.
So I'm just writing so that YouTube will see me write it. QAnon ideas discussed on this show are their theories and not factual. Sarcasm, YouTube. Basically.
Yep.
Because
why does YouTube strike you if you talk about QAnon? Probably.
I don't know, but let's just be careful.
Yeah.
I like to get our word out there and not get blocked.
Right.
But yeah, all of that, and just like, did you get into any of the rest of all the politics besides QAnon?
No, I haven't really gone that far in my podcast. I think I only have like 10 episodes so far. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I'm still very interested in cults too. So I don't know which direction to take my show at this point.
Well, the show is about freedom of speech and what you or the audience wants to talk about. So
no, I meant my show.
Do you want to talk more about what your show is about? Because obviously the viewers and participants may be more interested in what your show is about, so they may want to go listen.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. A friend of mine was in a very abusive relationship with an actor from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And we had started kind of raising awareness about his abusive tactics. And I did a couple episodes on that. I started with that. And then I got very into the Nexium cult. I don't know if you guys know about that, but the leader of that cult just went away for 120 years. And Andrea was on that podcast. We talked about that. And we talked about her situation that she has with her daughter, who's in a like church cult thing. And I think I did one on Scientology, and then a couple on QAnon, and a couple on the Trump cult. So I'm just kind of getting started, really. I mean, it's I don't have any equipment. I just kind of do it in my closet with my laptop, So we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's called Gaslighty, and I don't know. I'm just very interested in that kind of thing.
Okay,
sure.
So Clayton asks, was it Spike? So I guess he's mentioning a character on the show you mentioned.
No, it was Xander, Nicholas Brendan.
And Clayton also asked, what is your podcast? So it's called Gaslighty?
Gaslighty, yes, Gaslighty. Just a play on gaslighting, yeah.
Elizabeth said something about Watchman's Decree.
About what?
Watchman's Decree. So
I
I'm
don't
not
know
sure
what
what
that is
that's about.
either. Flynn and mega churches. Oh, mega churches.
I think Watchman's Decree, now that I remember, is one of these decrees by one of the evangelical preachers. I could pull that up.
I do have an interesting. Elizabeth just talked about mega churches. Okay, so my stepfather, I'm from Texas. My stepfather used to fly for Kenneth Copeland, and Kenneth Copeland has that crazy show on or network. I guess it's online. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Ken. Have you?
I've seen some stuff with Kenneth Copeland. He's been parodied by somebody
Oh my
that I
God.
watch.
He is so nuts. He didn't seem that nuts back when I knew him, but I was never into.
So here's an analysis of the Watchman's Decree. So let me put that up. Not exactly sure who this site is, but they analyze it. So it says the Watchman Decree is a scary vision of Christian nationalism in action. The theocratic declaration is a threat to everyone who's not a conservative Christian, writes Hemnet Mehta on July 15th, 2022 in the publication Only Sky. Watchman Decree, as a patriot of faith, this is what it says. As a patriot of faith, I attest my allegiance first and foremost to the kingdom of God and the Great Commission. Secondly, I agree to be a watchman over our nation concerning its people and their rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that's what it actually says in it. So he continues, the article is written, what does a Christian nationalist induction ceremony look like? You'd get a pretty good idea by watching a clip highlighting the Watchman Decree from a recent Flashpoint live event in Georgia.
Flashpoint, that's what it is.
It's Flashpoint. On July 1, a slew of conservative Christians, including conspiracy theorist Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, and
I love how they call her
anti-abortion
conspiracy theorist representative.
Abby Johnson gathered to do far more than pray. During the event, host Gene Bailey urged the Christian audience and everyone watching the live stream to join together and recite what he called the Watchman Decree. So it's Gene.
Gene, the Jesus machine.
Yeah. Watchmen in this case refer to people who pledge to watch over the nation and make sure it's run according to conservative Christian principles. Writer and activist Nick Knudsen shared the clip that went viral, but you can see it for yourself in the video. So if we wanted, we can
watch that. Yes, that's Kenneth Copeland's channel. It's creepy as hell.
So that's they do their player decoration and so forth. So that's the article. So
I just feel like these churches, these mega churches, once they start getting into politics the way they are, it seems like they shouldn't be tax exempt anymore. Isn't that supposed to be separate? I mean, it's just crazy to me that they can do that.
So this is what they recite. We decree that America's executive branch of government will honor God and defend the Constitution. We decree that our legislative branch, Congress, will write only laws that are righteous and constitutional. We decree that our judicial system will issue rulings that are biblical and constitutional. We declare that we stand against wokeness, the occult, and every evil attempt against our nation. We declare and we now take back our God-given freedoms according to our Constitution. We declare that we take back influence at the local level in our communities. We decree that we take back and permanently control positions of influence and leadership in each of the 7 mountains. Not sure what that is.
Separation of church and state.
It basically blows up separation of church and state.
Yeah.
We decree that the blood of Jesus covers and protects our nation. It protects and separates us for God. We declare that our nation is energy independent. We declare that America is strong spiritually, financially, militarily, and technologically. Well, gee, I guess they don't need 5G. Don't anybody give them 5G. We decree that evil carries no power, authority, or rights in our land, nor over our people. I'm sorry, but the fact that you exist and you define this as your goal in life proves that evil does exist. We decree that we will operate in unity, going beyond denominational lines in our order to accomplish the purposes of God for our nation. Oh my gosh. Jeez.
See,
That's what they're actually doing.
I have questions about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, I don't think that she is like really like this. I don't think she's always been like this. And only because I recently saw like her audition for American Idol. I think this her whole persona is like made up. I'd really like to know her background. Like, I think she was just like a wannabe actress that just took on this persona. I don't think she actually believes anything she says. But that's just my guess.
So I'm just going through some of the comments. WW says fiction. Elizabeth starts whereas and then continues whereas induction. Elizabeth said terrifying. WW says I have a demon or two in me. We've all got demons. That does not make us demons. Benny Loco gets 3 angry signs. Andrea chimes in and talks about her daughter in this cult church.
Yeah.
Home church is out of Dominican Republic. They have no extradition laws. She left in the middle of the night with my grandkids. I have no idea where she is.
Yeah, it's really sad. She talks about that on one of my episodes. I think it's the NXIVM episode, right, Andrea?
Benny Loco says I'm fixing to cut my demon loose.
Wait, Benny Loco, that wasn't her on American Idol thing?
So, and Shecky Bobo says he's checking in, or she's checking in, but I think it's a he. Going back and forth between this show and Major Ojeda. We welcome you, Shecky Bobo. So, yeah, just that's the stuff that's going on in that church, you know.
Yeah. My stepdad was his pilot for many years, and he had an airplane hangar at his house. I've been to Kenneth Copeland's house. And yeah, I mean, I met him a few times. He seemed okay. Like, it was just after the Trump thing started was when things got really crazy, I guess. I mean, he's probably always been crazy, I'm sure. I just met him a couple times.
Clayton saw last week's show and asked me if I worked on any new impressions. Now, sometimes I do impressions and try.
What kind of impressions do you do?
I don't know if you watched last week's show.
No, I watched some of it. I didn't see any impressions, though.
Oh, at the end of the show, I was kind of getting funny with impressions. So
I didn't get to the end because I kind of like you asked me to be on the show earlier today, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to go back and watch that show. So I didn't get to the end. So what kind of impressions do you do?
I was just doing, because last week I was doing Alex Jones. I'm Alex Jones. Yeah, the court come after me and took all my money. It's just so illegal, you know. Alex Jones.
Oh man,
it's not hard to do, you know.
These ambulance chasers coming after me.
Yeah,
I didn't kill those kids. Yeah, he's awful.
I don't know. I think I did one, but I forgot what it was, and you know, the other one was just like pretending to be Hal's Karen LaCaren type character.
Oh yeah. You should do a Mitch McConnell. He's easy.
Crystal or Christine, you know, like I just want to do this stuff. I'm just a Southern Crystal or Christine down here in the South.
I need to work on a Marjorie Taylor Greene one. That would be good. I need to work on that.
Yeah. She's
the
just
Poncho Police.
That was pretty good, Kelly. Clayton says I did Barney and Macho Man. I used to do Barney because my son had Barney. So I had to do, I love you, you love me. You know, and of course, then later, after you've heard it a zillion times, it's, I love you, you love me, we're a dysfunctional family. You know? And Macho Man, Randy Macho Man Savage, yeah, you know.
I'm definitely going to work on a Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's a video of her where she's like, I don't know who she's chasing down the hall. She's always chasing someone. And she's like, what? like something about why can't you let these January 6th defendants out? It was only one time. It was only one time January 6th. I'm just like, Jesus.
Yeah. Benny Loco says you need to watch my stupid videos. They keep me sane. We love you, Benny Loco. Thank you for being here. Yeah, we
Benny
love when
Loco,
Benny
you
Loco
have-
goes traveling and picks up stranded travelers that need a ride. That's pretty cool.
Benny Loco, you have videos? I gotta see these.
Yeah, she's on YouTube.
Okay.
You just have to search for Benny Loco. You can find her. Just put in her
I'm
name.
familiar with Benny Loco from Hal's show. Yep.
So, but you watch Hal. What other shows do you watch besides Hal that you like to really watch?
I actually I didn't really watch YouTube or listen to podcasts much at all. And then I was kind of going through a depression, and I found and I had just gotten back on Twitter. I hadn't really been much on Twitter, and I found Midas Touch. And I was very inspired by those young men. And I actually, that's when I started going out and getting young people to vote in the election. And I had written them a tweet, and they had used it on their show. And it was the same show that Hal was on. And I didn't have any idea who Hal was. I'd never watched Queer as Folk or anything like that. And so then I started watching his show. And so I binged both those shows like crazy. Yeah, those are my two go-to shows, Midas Touch and Hal Sparks.
Mm-hmm.
I just love Hal. He's just amazing.
It's so funny how I found Hal. I've told the audience before, but I'll tell anybody that's new. The reason I found Hal is because I was looking for alternate opinions on Trump rallies, and boom,
His Trump rallies are great. I've watched his episode that happened, his January 6th episode like 3 times. It's so interesting to watch, him commenting on it in real time. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I think it's called Georgia Out of My Mind or something like that. It's really good.
Clayton wants to know if anybody watched the new Hellraiser episode.
No, I don't even know what that is.
I don't even have time to watch TV.
And you want to watch The Handmaid's Tale? It's getting very familiar.
Benny Loco is going to drop her link in chat. So.
Huh? Oh,
Andrea asked Benny Loco to drop her link in chat.
So yeah, I definitely want to watch. I remember when I first started watching Hal Sparks, and he would always talk about Benny Loco, and I was like, who is this person? So yes, I definitely need to watch these videos. And I don't know if you know about Andrea and I, but I was in the Hal Sparks chat, and I was fake trolling. Like I was going Trump 2024 and stuff, and Andrea said something to me, and then I told her I was kidding, and I don't know really how we started talking. I can't remember, but our parents went to high school together in Homestead, Florida, and my grandfather delivered her. My grandfather was a doctor, and he delivered Andrea. We found that out chatting on the phone. It was crazy. Andrea
wants me to ask you about Fetterman and Oz. So she wants to know your opinions on Fetterman and Oz.
I mean, I think Fetterman's going to kill Oz, right? Fetterman did say something really interesting the other day. He said that there was a lot of Republican women coming up to him and saying they were going to vote for a Democrat for the first time because of these crazy abortion bans. And I think that's going to happen a lot. The polls scare me. They do scare me being so close. I don't know. I have this feeling we're going to win the House and the Senate. I really do. Mm-hmm. And Hal feels that way, and Michael Moore feels that way, and them two are usually right. So I'm going to go with that. The red wave is not happening, guys. We'll get you a tampon.
They're going to need something when they lose. That's for sure.
And you think if they lose this time, maybe they'll realize this extremist shit is not popular.
Hope so.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really interesting talking to young people because they really have no clue what's going on or what's at stake with democracy. They understand the abortion thing, but when I try to explain to them about, the dangers of losing democracy. It's like they have no clue. And they just kind of like, I don't even think it's really registering, but I'm trying to explain to them what Russia's like, and they don't really know and understand the war in Ukraine. And it's interesting to try to tell them about it though, and tell them, all the freedoms you enjoy now. Do you like, scrolling on Instagram and watching whatever you want? I mean, if you lose your democracy, that all ends,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, if you get, Trump talks every weekend about how we should execute drug dealers. I tell them stuff like that. They get that because they all buy drugs, or a lot of them do. And so, I go, yeah, Trump thinks it's okay to just not, speedy trial. Let's just kill him. He says that every weekend. He says, me and President Xi, his best friend, President Xi, who also sent a deadly virus to attack us, but he gets along with, which I'll never understand that. But yeah, he says, he says we have no drug problem in China because we execute drug dealers. Okay, that's not true, but they do have a drug problem in China. There's drug problems everywhere. I mean, that's just crazy. How do people hear that and just still go along with him? I don't get it. Half the time, I don't even think those people are listening. I don't know if you've ever seen like shots from his rallies where most of the people are on their phones like this,
Well, the ones who believe the religious reasons for voting for him, the
Yeah.
ones who think the world is ending and the only way to keep the world from ending and the only way to save themselves from eternal damnation, they believe they have to do this because they believe that independent thought and the ability to choose your own destiny versus God choosing your destiny is a sin, so they're like locked into that.
Mhm.
They believe that if they don't eradicate certain things that they determine out of the norm, then they're going to hell because they didn't try to eradicate it. That's what they believe.
I guess I just don't understand that way of thinking.
They literally believe that any alternative lifestyle and any sex change and any of that stuff is abhorrent, and if they don't eradicate it, then they're saying yes to it and they're going to hell. So they're just locked in. They can't make any other choice. That's what they're locked into. But the other ones that are pushing for Trump are the people that we don't see at rallies because they're probably just sitting back and spending money and funding the whole thing.
Right.
And they love him because he makes their taxes so low that they don't care whether these people destroy us or them. They have money, so because they have so much money, they don't care. You can destroy democracy; they're going to be in power. They don't care.
Well, it won't matter. Democracy ending won't matter. I mean, I really feel like people aren't standing up enough. Where are the big corporations? Where are the big celebrities talking about democracy? I don't even see them hardly ever talking about it.
I think we have some. I mean, we have
some, but not enough. I mean, I felt like at the Oscars, I mean, everybody complains about the actors being political, but I thought at the Oscars, they all should have been saying something about it. I really did. It's so scary to me. I mean, maybe I'm overreacting, but I've just never seen the country like this before.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's just insane to me. You know a lot more about history than I do, though. I also grew up in a Republican household. My parents were big supporters of Ronald Reagan. So big that like he sent us an American flag. He invited my dad to parties. I mean, it was just, my dad never went because he didn't like parties, but I've always been a Democrat. I think the first president I voted for was Bill Clinton. So do you know who this Brigitte Gabriel is on Twitter? She wrote a thing earlier, stop indoctrinating our children. And I said, yes, Brigitte, we're starting an army of blood drinking trans kids. You didn't know that?
What is that?
You missed my joke? You missed my joke? Ken, pay attention.
No, I was looking to see about something that was in chat, and I was
Oh.
kind of reading some of Human Up Being's comments.
There's a couple crazy people on Twitter. One is Brigitte Gabriel. She's like the female Nick Adams. Do you know who that is?
Not really.
They're just they're like Marjorie Taylor Greene types. But she wrote a big thing today about indoctrinating our children. So I said, yes, Brigitte, we're starting an army of blood drinking trans kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these people are just insane to me. And I guess these like crazy Christians have always kind of been around, but I don't know if it's just because we have social media now and just they're just more out there and there's just more people now.
Mm-hmm. So,
are you on Twitter, Ken?
Yes.
Okay.
West Webb is mentioning something called confirmational bias versus critical thinking. He had that thought earlier. I'd have to look that up to see what that is. Are you familiar with that confirmational bias?
Not really.
I guess I can guess what confirmational bias is. I know what critical thinking is. Critical thinking is analyzing such. So let's look at confirmational.
The tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation of one's existing beliefs or theories.
Okay, so confirmational bias is basically just saying, I believe in this religion and church, and therefore if somebody comes along and says that they believe in this religion and church, then I support them, I guess. It's
right.
Just the reason why they love Trump, because he says, I'm for the Bible. He doesn't actually have to be for the Bible. He just has to say it.
He can't
Confirmational bias is bending the truth to fit your thinking, says Wes. So
makes sense. I have a question. Have you been following the latest about Liz Cheney? Have you seen that video of her talking about abortion?
Not yet.
Oh, you've got to see it.
So Liz Cheney abortion.
Yeah, I'll send you the link on Twitter. Can you pull up Twitter?
Yeah.
It's very upsetting. Because I was actually kind of admiring Liz Cheney there for a while, you know? Anyway, the guy who put out this video says that he has worse videos than this coming. His name's Don Winslow. He says he's going to put out more videos. And I was like, holy shit.
Are you tweeting it or sending it private?
I sent it to you on a messenger. On Twitter.
Send it as a Twitter message?
Yeah.
Okay.
On a messenger.
Okay. I'll have to look on my phone.
Yeah, you got to play that video. It's really pissed me off.
So Twitter. So send that to myself. And put it in email. Sorry, it takes me a little bit of bumping things around.
Entertain the crowd.
No, it's just that I don't have my private Twitter accounts in my computer, because I have the accounts for this show and the account for the previous name of this show, and so I can't pull my private Twitter right up. So
I was going to show this picture, but I can't. It's too bright. Okay, did you find it?
I'm making it work, but my finger is being a pain trying to paste it. So hang on. I appreciate your patience.
No worries.
Okay, it's on its way to my email. Need to figure out a way to automate that. Where did it go? Should be there. It's just not showing up. There it is. Took a sweet time getting to me. Give it a second. It's coming up. So it's a video.
Yes.
Okay, got the audio down. So find it in the presentation here. 1 second. Couple more clicks. I think that's the one. Yep. So that puts it on the screen.
Perfect.
That makes it bigger. Kind of put the sound is up. Show it back. And play it.
And that's to make sure that every American understands what today's Democrat Party stands for with respect to babies and with respect to the murder of babies. We have seen now in states across the country the introduction of legislation that would enable the killing of babies. This is not about abortion. This is about killing babies after they are born.
After they are born. After they are born.
And you've seen the leadership of the Democrat Party here on the Hill remain silent while elected leaders, including the governor of Virginia, described in very cold clinical terms how he would in fact facilitate the murder of a baby that had already been born. And I want to say personally, as a mother, I'm the mother of 5 kids. I've delivered 5 babies. And the idea that we have to say today to mothers all across this country that we've got to describe what the Democrats are doing is really horrific. And I want to ask mothers across this country to join with us to make sure that we don't see our maternity wards turned into killing fields, which is what the Democrats would do if we don't stop this. We are absolutely dedicated to stopping this, dedicated to protecting the most vulnerable among us, which are the unborn. And the notion that we're having a debate about whether or not you should be able to kill babies is, as I said, absolutely horrific and evil. And we will stand up against that.
So she might be a good champion as far as, holding Trump to the standard of law.
Right.
But yeah, she's still a Republican, tried and true.
But not even just a regular Republican. I mean, that's extremist language. I'm sorry. Killing babies after they're born does not happen. That is murder. And when Trump said that, he said that a few years ago and the Facebook post that he said that on is still up to this day. I have reported it many times. I don't understand where this killing babies after they're born comes from. Do you?
It's extremist thinking. There's no basis in reality. I mean, the only thing that comes close to it is that they're trying to equate the ending of life support on a baby.
Oh, like a baby that's not going to live anyway. Yeah.
A baby that's not going to have a viable life. So they're saying that only Democrats support ending the life of a baby that will not have a viable life. And this business of aborting a baby that is full term, that is equating a DNC that has to be done to save a woman's life to an abortion. Now, I've had people in my chat say that in medical terms, a DNC is a form of an abortion.
Right.
But the point is that they're using the language that way. They're using only the word abortion because it's political. Mm-hmm. They don't say DNC.
Right.
They don't say that it's saving the woman's life. They just say we're aborting the baby at full term. Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten into arguments with people on Twitter that are, just saying like, oh no, doctors will be able to save the life of a mother, and no, there'll be exceptions. No, in these states, that is what is happening right now. There are women not being able to get care for miscarriages. The laws are fuzzy, so doctors don't know what they can perform and not perform. This one doctor said that she wasn't sure that if she didn't do the procedure, she could get maybe sued for malpractice. But if she did do the procedure, she might go to jail. I mean, it's just crazy to me. They need to like figure out these laws, because that whole overturning of Roe just set everything into chaos. And I highly recommend you watch that abortion video. I'll send that to you as well. It's really long, so don't want to play it tonight, but
Okay.
the stories are just crazy to me.
Hmm.
I just can't believe this is what we're living through right now.
Yeah.
I don't know, feel like it gets talked about enough, really, at least on the news, you know.
But this abortion theory, this excessive, exaggerated stance on abortion, and trying to paint the Democrats as evil, comes right out of the pulpit.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that Kenneth Copeland and that ilk of preacher are saying. So that's just what happens,
Because only Democrats get abortions, right? Or have
Right.
miscarriages, or or have.
Never mind the fact that we have evidence, plenty of it, that Republicans have paid for abortions.
Of course, yeah. I'm a little worried about the Herschel Walker race. What about you?
I hope that he doesn't get in there. I hope that the voters of Georgia have a brain. And
Yeah, but I think a lot of them he's like a superstar there, just kind of like Trump,
Yeah.
He's the best football player ever, and they don't care. Like they just like Dinesh D'Souza was saying, it doesn't matter who he is as long as he votes right, as long as he votes like how we want him to. So like character doesn't matter, nothing matters except for how he votes. I mean, that's just ridiculous to me. That makes no sense.
So what do we have in chat to know?
I lost my chat. I'm so upset. I can't read it now. Yeah, I keep accidentally turning your show on my phone.
Whenever I watch my own show, like
Yeah.
if I take a break, I usually have the sound turned down so that I can watch the show and chat. And that's really the only way I can chat as myself. Is that because the StreamYard doesn't allow me to chat as myself. It only allows me to chat as the name of the show, because that's the name of the channel that the show appears on. So that's just the way it goes. So chat is kind of interacting with each other right now. So
let's see what they're saying about abortion.
They're talking about personal stories of one's mother. Wes Webb is talking about his mother and her things.
Yeah, so
talking about Andrea's nephew. So
anyway, I don't think that government should be involved in abortions at all.
Me neither.
Like at all. Like no laws, nothing. Like that's just not even anyone's business. Sorry. There's no woman that goes to get an abortion at like 8 months, 9 months. That does not happen.
It's always the DNC that the doctor says you have to do this or you're going to die. And again, it's still up to her. It should always be up to her, because there have been plenty of cases where women have said,
"Let me die." Yeah, of course.
Let me die and have my baby and
and that's her choice. That is her choice, of course. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you watched The Handmaid's Tale, Ken, but do you watch that show, The Handmaid's Tale?
I haven't watched it, but I've had enough knowledge about others discussing it that it makes sense what it's about.
It's very it's very scary to watch it and then watch what's going on in the country right now. It kind of starts off like really slow, like, she has to get her husband to sign for her birth control, and then like just little things happening until everything just kind of goes crazy. But I feel like that's happening here now. It's happening.
So Andrea wants me to go over the definitions that we went over
Oh
earlier.
yeah,
So
I even wrote them down. Well, the treason and the espionage.
yeah, you can just go over them if you wrote them down.
Let me grab them.
But
Sorry
yeah,
if I stuck my butt in the camera, but no, I ran out of pen ink, but Trump isn't actually accused of espionage, right? I mean, he's accused of violating the Espionage Act, correct?
mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So treason is the crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign or otherwise the government. And I think that's exactly what Trump did on January 6th. I mean, as far as I can tell from what I've seen, and I don't know why it didn't happen, but the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys had all their guns stashed, right, at the hotel. And they were waiting for Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act so they could go get their guns and like blow everyone's brains out. Am I right? Or, I mean, that was the plan. I don't know why it didn't happen, but only Trump could tell us that. And he will, but I doubt it.
But read the espionage diff.
Oh, I ran out of ink. Let me
Okay.
read it really quick. Espionage Act. Okay.
I'll look and see if I still have it on here. I think I still have it open because I don't recall shutting it.
Espionage Act of 1917 prohibited obtaining information, recording pictures, or copying descriptions of any information relating to the national defense with intent or reason to believe that that information may be used for the injury of the United States or to the advantage of any foreign nation. That's the Espionage Act.
There's this thing that Andrea sent me, which I put on the screen, so I'll put it up again. And there's a way to make this big again, I think. Is that the way to make it big? So this is the espionage definition. The practice of spying or using spies, typically by governments to obtain political and military information. This is what the DOJ, Merrick Garland, are referring to when talking about the documents that were seized by the FBI at Mar-a-Lago, as well as possible Bedminster and the crypt and residence in New York, since the DOJ hasn't disclosed and we aren't aware that Trump has sold any documents to any foreign countries, i.e. Russia and China. These are very serious crimes, and DOJ has a very difficult time to prove and also charge a president, even a former president, with these charges. I believe DOJ should, so no other president can do what Trump has done, and Trump can never run for any political office again.
And you are correct, Andrea. Yes.
So what she's really saying is that, you know, even though we don't know whether he's given information to other governments or not, we have to investigate whether he has.
Yeah. What about the empty folders? I mean, where is that crap?
Yeah, exactly. And then you read the treason, the crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign or overthrow the government. So, you know, the fact that he was going to kill the vice president, who, if he didn't complete the job, would be the person in charge.
Right.
Because, you know, it would either be the vice president or more specifically the Speaker of the House, because if they don't complete the job, the Speaker of the House is temporarily the president.
Right.
So if you're going to kill Nancy Pelosi, you are killing the person who would become the sovereign in light of the inability to select a new president.
I do think that was the plan. And I think that during the Stuart Rhodes trial and stuff, we're going to find out exactly what the plan was. And I think the plan was to go get their guns, bring them back, drag out the lawmakers, and kill them. I mean, yeah.
Hi, Scotty B. Welcome to chat. Robin, if I didn't say hello, I think I said hello earlier, though. Welcome.
So I also think about the documents that, you know, I definitely think that golf tournament with the Saudis is very suspicious.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, he has a lot of cases where he's out golfing and you never see him striking a club or playing. He's just out there. They're
Yeah,
just out there on golf carts
yeah,
talking,
yeah.
so
That
that they
was
can be
weird.
beyond surveillance and the ability to listen to them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're gonna find out. Trump is not good at hiding things. You know, the truth always comes out with his crap.
Robin
So,
has a theory. He says, I have a theory about the empty folders. The spies who purchased them only took the contents.
right,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, why are there empty folders unless he's just messy, which I don't think so. And Trump, he doesn't care about the country. He'll do anything for money. He does not care about the country in any way. The guy doesn't even care about his own children, you know? I mean, he just like.
So do we have any other topics from the audience? Anything you want to see us discuss? Wes's opinion on where the empty documents are.
Mm-hmm.
He's hiding it, or he sold it, or he framed it.
Right. I think he sold them. I've always thought that from the beginning. Why else would he take them? I want to know how he got them out. How did he get them out without anyone noticing?
I think he actually ordered them out. I think he
Right.
had the people take them out on the day that he left the White House and
And
put
no
them
one
on the
said
plane.
anything. I mean, no one said anything. Like,
Well, he apparently has plenty of loyalists.
yeah, like you shouldn't be taking these. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm dying to find out what exactly they are, and I think we will find out. I definitely think we will find out. What do you guys think?
And Robin says there's a different price for taking the contents versus making copies. It could be just
Yeah. That is, I do think it's weird because when I heard about the empty folders, I was like, no, but he wouldn't sell the original documents, right? Like he would make copies of them. That's what I was thinking, but I don't
I
know.
would think that if he had any documents that were originals that were missing, it was because he wanted to get rid of evidence against himself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Michael Cohen thinks that he was going to like threaten the DOJ with selling them in order to get out of criminal prosecution, which I don't think that's going to work. But that's Michael Cohen's theory anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Scotty says Flynn. He thinks Flynn helped him. I think that's very possible. I don't know.
I think so.
I mean, wasn't it Michael Flynn's brother who was it that turned down the National Guard a million times on January 6th? I get all these people confused.
Yeah. It almost need like a scorecard, a replay card, a baseball card.
I've
This
never
person
known
turned
so
down
many
this thing, that
names. Yeah.
person down that, you know.
I've never known so many names in government in my life. I just miss like the days when Obama was president. And I barely even knew who the Secretary of State was. I mean, I did.
Maybe that's how we get the young people to spend more time learning our recent history, is we have to put it on cards, you know, make it a playing card game.
I do think that, you know, the Midas Touch videos and the Lincoln Project videos are really great for the young people because they have the shortest attention spans, you know.
Andrea said this single comment, the voting. So I believe what she means is that she wants us to talk about why it's important to vote.
Well, we did talk about that.
And I would say the main thing that we want to garner this time is that it is very important to vote in this election for representatives and senators, and not just think that you can wait to 2024 to elect.
I used to not vote in
the president.
I used to not vote in the midterms hardly ever.
I mean, it's highly important to make sure that you keep as many Democrats in office as possible.
Yep.
Because if you don't, the Jan 6 committee can't further investigate after the new people are sworn into office.
Right.
Because you can bet the Republicans will get rid of them.
Also, my best friend Jessica lives in Idaho. Hi, Jessica. She is voting because it's so red there. She's voting for the sane Republicans, she decided, instead of Democrats, because I think that's not a bad idea, you know. Like if I
Well,
lived
if
in Wyoming, I'd vote for Liz Cheney, you know, even though I can't stand her. But it's just that the other people are just too dangerous, you know. These election deniers, and they're just so dangerous.
well, if you really literally believe that only a Republican's going to get elected, I guess,
Yeah,
but
I mean, if you're in a place where it's like impossible, I mean, I don't think it's really impossible anywhere right now. That's what I'd like to think, but I guess that's a little idealistic. I don't know.
well, a lot of these people that we watch, besides Hal and I watch Stuttering John and I watch
Yeah.
Richard Ojeda. It's like, but I think it is Hal Sparks that tells you that you have to vote, even though it seems like you're outnumbered, because
Hmm.
if you don't encourage people to vote, where I take my state of Florida, for instance,
Hmm.
the Republicans are the majority of elected, excuse me, the Republicans are the majority of registered voters. The Democrats come in second. But there's this big block of people that are third party,
Or
which we
independent.
call non-party affiliation in this state.
Okay.
That big block of NPAs, if you can get some of those NPAs to vote for Democrats and actually vote, then you could actually elect a Democrat. It's the fact that they don't vote because they sit back and look and go, the Republicans are the majority. Why should we?
Yeah. And that's kind of how it was in Texas for me. A lot of times I was like, oh, why would we vote? You know, but you know, Texas could easily become blue.
Robin wants to play the dirty trick that the Republicans did. We need to run fake Republicans. Their voters wouldn't catch on.
Oh my God, that's such a good idea.
That's actually what happened in the recent elections is that in the 2020 election, the Republicans ran 3 candidates who were fakes, who had not gone to anything, didn't even provide a picture to the media on record, and they put their name on there and had the non-party affiliation and a name similar to the
Oh, I remember this.
Republican candidate,
Hmm.
same last name, and like if somebody like saw the last name, they voted for the MPA because they didn't want to vote for the Republican,
That's hilarious.
and then they didn't vote for the Democrat, and then so they kept several people from getting elected that way.
That's hilarious. That's so good.
But
What do
they
you
did
think?
catch them.
Yeah. What do you think about the Democrats like donating to these extremist candidates? I thought that was kind of an interesting strategy.
Which ones are they donating to?
I just heard that maybe I can't remember exactly who, but I heard that maybe the DNC tell me in the chat, was donating to people like Blake Masters, and like they spent more money on certain people's campaigns than people actually did.
Human F.
Yes.
Being says lesser of two evils, or hear me out, we need to register as Republicans and nominate the most likely loser, and then puts real. I think you're asking if my story was real. My story was real. They actually did run 3 fake candidates.
Yeah, I remember that story. Yes. So it says here that Democrats risky bet, aid GOP extremists, hoping to beat them in the fall. So they donated to Doug Mastriano to get him so he'd win his primary. People like that.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to run against the extremists. That's what they wanted. It's a risky bet. It is a risky bet, but it's ballsy, and Democrats are always being accused of not having balls. So I kind of thought that was interesting.
Andrea gives the voters statement here. There are people out there that don't vote. If you don't vote, don't complain.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
There were times in Texas I didn't vote because I thought, what's the point? And that's just not the way to be at all.
In my lifetime as a voter, I've only not voted one time, and that was before I started getting flu shots and I had the flu.
Mm.
but there were two other adults in my house who were voting, so they voted and I didn't get to vote. That was
I think
before I started doing absentee votes.
I think I didn't vote in one election. I think it was when George W. Bush won the first time. I think that one I didn't vote in. I was in Texas and I was young. I was like, oh, what does it matter? It's a red state anyway. Well, that's just not even true anymore. I mean, any state is up for grabs at this
Well,
point.
the main thing is that, even if you think your state is going to vote for
Right.
this person for president, you still should go for all
You
those
should
other
still vote.
things, because you may, be among those who help put the representative in office that fights
Right.
against that person.
And
So,
also, you should just vote anyway. I mean, women fought for the right to vote. Let's vote, no matter what.
right.
My mom voted Democrat the first time for Hillary Clinton. That was the first time she'd voted
Mhm.
Democrat in her life. And she's in her 70s. She's like, I'm absolutely not voting for Donald Trump. Actually, she started to kind of waver back when we were still in Texas and Obama was elected. And she would hear her friends say the most horrible racist things about Obama. And she liked Obama. So she kind of started to waver then. And now she's registered Democrat. Yay, Mom. Congratulations. Ugh, I never heard the end of Ronald Reagan in my house. You don't even understand how Republican we were. It's just awful. I almost gave my dad a heart attack when he asked me who I was voting for. And I said, I'm voting for Bill Clinton. He's like, no.
Yeah, well,
My dad was wealthy. He's a wealthy oil Texas guy. I mean, of course, he was just like, what, you want to give away all your money? That was his big thing. It was all about money.
and then that's another thing that we should talk about too, is that people need to realize that the is it Jim Jordan that said this thing about ending Social Security?
Yeah, I don't think people really believe that. I live in a 55 and older community, and I've mentioned that to a few people, and they go, "Oh no, that'll never happen. That'll never happen." I was like, "Yeah, they said that about Roe v. Wade last year too. That will never happen."
I've been hearing since the 80s that
Yeah.
Social Security would be privatized, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll never be able to collect it, and you need to put away this money in this 401k or whatever. And I have one of those sort of things where I work, and I'm planning in case it happens, but
Yeah,
a lot of people can't. They just don't have the money to put away,
I don't.
and
I live paycheck to paycheck now. I mean,
it's
it's not
just
easy.
scary to think about that. And if people realize that it was the Democrats that got them Social Security and uh, disability payments if they get injured, or time off for sick leave or anything. I mean, all of these guarantees that we take for granted,
Mhm.
welcome back, Elizabeth. All of these things we take for granted come to us from Democrats, like
Yeah.
minimum
And
wages and so
Democrats
forth.
don't brag enough about it. I feel like Biden does a pretty good job of bragging about things, but I don't think that we do brag enough. I mean,
Yeah.
Trump would brag about everything constantly, every day. I did see an interesting. Did you see the other day the White House had over like all the big people on Twitter, like Mueller, she wrote, and the Jordy Midas and Texas Paul, and I thought that was a good reach out from the White House to really engage with the social media people. People we kind of consider the Twitter stars. Um, that was interesting to me. I've never seen the White House do something like that. You're right, Andrea. Hillary was right about everything.
Scotty B says Rusky Ron Johnson wants to end Social Security.
I
And he
mean,
doesn't care, Scotty B, because he's got his own form of
right.
Social Security. It's called his
Or
pension.
what about them wanting to end it when you're 95? Like, what are 95-year-olds supposed to do exactly? I don't get a job.
And Wes says the press briefings are not so much fun since Jen Psaki left.
Jen Psaki was the best.
Yeah.
I think it was Jen Psaki who kind of started that, getting the White House engaged with, the YouTubers and the Twitter people. I don't know if you saw that picture from the White House the other day, but it was like everyone from Twitter all together at the White House. And I'm like, that's cool. They're engaging with these people. They're engaging with the young people. Because those people have a lot of influence, you know.
Elizabeth has her statement. She says, I will join Stephanie Miller and say I will die angry and clinging to my Hillary yard sign.
I love Stephanie Miller. She's great.
I'm gonna like, pretend to type this down. So I'm gonna pretend to type it down. I saw a bumper sticker today that said, don't blame me, I voted for Ross. And it was on a card that to me looked like it was too new to have voted for Ross Perot. So I'm wondering if like they kept a sticker,
That's
put it
hilarious.
on a newer car.
I used to love being in Texas and like having my Hillary Clinton sticker on my car, my Obama sticker. It was so much fun just trolling the Texans. My mom's like, you're going to get shot.
Human F beings asked the question, will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
64 is young now. See, 64 is young now, though. I mean, people are living a lot longer.
Yeah.
Robin says she voted for Ross Perot. What's wrong with you, Robin? Just kidding, hon.
Yeah, he voted for Ross Perot. I hope Social Security doesn't get sunsetted.
That's crazy. I remember I thought it was the end of the world when George W. Bush got elected the second time. Boy, was I wrong.
Embezzler says of my observation today, it reminds me of Glenn Fry. I saw a deadhead sticker on a Cadillac.
That's what these Trump people remind me of, like fascist deadheads, just traveling around the country following Trump from rally to rally. It's the same friggin' people every time. It's not new people or people from the area. It's the same. They follow him around. So everyone get out and vote. Please vote, 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 vote. I really think we got this, though. I really do.
I think Elizabeth has a question for you. Where are you in Texas?
I'm not in Texas anymore. I actually grew up in Santa Barbara, California, and Ronald Reagan had a house there. So that's where my dad got invited to those parties. But my parents were from the South, so they moved me back in high school to the Fort Worth area. And I've kind of been back and forth between here and there ever since. So now I'm in Palm Springs area, like right outside Palm Springs. That's where I live now.
Human F being asked you are ready to talk about water yet? Did you ask a question earlier, Human F being?
I don't know.
So I'll have to shout that question out again. Was nearly prevented. Oops, wrong one. You did ask a question. Okay. Was nearly prevented from voting there in Texas, says Elizabeth. That's sad.
Yeah. Speaking of voting, did you see the stunts that DeSantis was pulling, arresting all those people for voter fraud? That made me so and that's another person that scares me, Ron DeSantis.
Mm-hmm. He is a scary sort.
But I don't think we need to worry about him for a while.
So Human F being said something about Lake Mead.
Scotty went to 12 Dead concerts. Nice.
Says that's August and such. And Andrea sent me something. So Andrea sent me RNC files lawsuit against Google for sending campaign emails to spam folders. So I'll open that up.
Sorry, my friend's messaging me. I'm like, I'm on a YouTube show right now. I can't talk. Okay. So, Ken, I have to go.
Okay, I appreciate you coming on the show today. Hang on one second while I come back.
Oh, yeah,
So I
yeah.
can.
I would love to come back now that I'm more like skilled and be more prepared to talk to you. But thanks so much, you guys. I had such a good
We
time.
really, really appreciate you being on the show. I think you were on for maybe about an hour and a half. So that was wonderful of you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ken, so much. I'll come on anytime.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody. Bye,
Bye.
Andrea, Benny Loco, all of you. Good night.
Good night. Okay, that was great. All right. So we're going back to this. I need to take that preliminary out and put in the real presentation that it opened up. And bring that up to full. Okay, so RNC files lawsuit to Google. We're sending campaign emails to spam folders. The Republican National Committee filed a lawsuit against Google on Friday, alleging that the tech giant was sending campaign emails to Gmail spam folders. The lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of California came after Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, a Republican, filed a lawsuit against Google on Thursday for unlawfully capturing the biometric data of billions of Texans. He said, Google has relegated millions of RNC emails en masse to potential donors and supporters' spam folders during pivotal points in election fundraising and community building. The timing of Google's most egregious filtering is particularly damning, end quote. The RNC claimed in the lawsuit that it has tried to obtain an explanation and solution from Google, but, quote, every explanation has been refuted and every solution has failed, end quote. Google spokesperson Jose Castenda told the New York Post that the company doesn't filter emails based on political affiliation. Gmail spam filters, he said, reflect users' actions, he said. So people on social media suggested that the frequency of RNC emails led them to report emails that they had received as spam. Others said they received the emails despite having never provided their email address to the RNC. The emails allow users to opt out of receiving them in the future. It was not immediately clear how many Gmail users continue to receive emails from the RNC even after opting out. Ronna McDaniel, the chairwoman of the RNC, said in a statement on Twitter that Republicans were suing Google for its, quote, blatant bias, end quote. She continued, quote, for nearly a year, the RNC tracked how Google has arbitrarily throttled the RNC's ability to communicate with Gmail users by routing nearly 100% of RNC emails to spam during key fundraising and GOP periods like clockwork each month, end quote. So they're mad that their emails are getting filtered out. So I don't know if you wanted to see that video or just read that. So I'll come back, see what's going on in the chat. Okay. reading the chat. Good night, Elizabeth, if you're still listening. Benny Loco tells them what she thinks of their lawsuit. Andrea says, isn't that freedom of speech? You don't have to keep email if you don't want spam. Correct. Andrea wants to see the video. Okay. All right. Let me take out a couple of extraneous things to help bring more power back to the computer and go back to the video. Because I think there's a video. This is just a picture. The first thing is a picture. Maybe there's not a video. Maybe it was just a picture. Or is this a video? I don't think so. Okay. Okay, I guess no, that's DeSantis's video. Was there a video in that? Let me open it up on my phone and see. I mean, there's the thing. Not really a video in that part of it. There's an advertisement. I think it's just a story and a picture, and there are advertisements in it, but there is no really video with it. So and then there was another thing that Andrea sent me that might be the video that she does want to see. So there's a video there on that. So let me bring that one up. Okay, so that's back in the email. And the video is Michael Lindell shows up at a Trump rally in Texas and promptly proceeds to undermine Ronna McDaniel's deprogramming tour this week by telling people not to vote early. He then shows off his honorary sheriff's badge, which is now apparently a thing with MAGA. So that's the video that we're going to show. So give me a second here. And we'll get that up on screen. So this was retweeted by Hal Sparks and came from Ron Filipowski, and audio levels, it's not playing. Okay, so turn audio levels up and make it bigger and play it.
Sheriffs and judges, I believe, are going to bring this country back. They just gave me a little badge, Brian.
I love it.
I'm semi-official.
You are.
And encourage everyone to vote the day of the election, not before. Very important, everybody. The media is all over there attacking me for telling you all that. If you get a mail-in vote or whatever, mail-in ballot, just bring it with you to make sure. If they tell you, oh, you already voted, say, no, I didn't. And you go to your local sheriff. Sheriffs and judges, I believe, are going to bring this country back. They just gave me a little badge, Brian.
I love it.
I'm semi-official.
You are.
Oh, what a fool he is. Okay. So that's the video that Andrea shared that she wanted you to see. Okay. Yes, Kelly, you did wonderful. Thank you. Yes, the Republicans only vote the same day, says Kelly. They only vote the same day like in 2020, so you don't have to wait days to lose. And Kelly makes my observation, Mike Pillow is so disturbed. We're happy to have you on today, Kelly. Great show. Thanks. Was that the video, asked Webb? Yes, that was the video that Andrea wanted me to show you, because she sent a video after sending me the other story. Deep thoughts from human enough being. How do you know you exist? How do you know anything outside your own mind exists? How do you know my questions are real? Is the concept valid despite my awareness? Deep thoughts. Wes, you're a character. I'm not going to read that on there. You're just funny, man. You're so funny. So y'all got any other topics you want to discuss tonight? You can throw something in chat and say we can discuss that. Kelly says, I was a YouTube virgin. I need praise. Yes. Andrea asked the audience, so what do you think? What do you all think will happen when the GOP loses? That's a good question. I think that they will try to proclaim that the election was rigged once again. That's the first thing they will likely do. Kelly Cross says the guys with guns at drop boxes. That's one of Ron Filipowski's. Guys with the guns at the drop boxes. Hi, Casper. Good evening. Here's an interesting one while I'm searching. So I think Andrea sent me the link to the one that I'm looking for. But while I'm looking for that and loading that one from Andrea, let me just show you this as well. This is Ron Filipowski's observation. And he says, I think I'm starting to lean towards this resembling a cult. So yeah, I'm going to check the email that Andrea sent. But yeah, that's on the top of Ron Filipowski's tweets. So checking the email that Andrea sent for the one we just discussed. Okay, this is different. So this is a different one, but this is also an interesting one. Ron Filipowski asks, I don't know if any of you noticed this lately, but it appears Trump might be starting to lose his marbles. And it says, who is going to enter the Trump quicksand? Many have tried, leaving permanently damaged or never to be heard from again. So there's that one. And then there's another one that came in just now from Andrea. So go get that one. Okay, these are things that is a summary of things that happened this week. So I bring that one up as well. So let's see if we can make that bigger. It's not going to be easy to read at home at the size of the print, but it just says, just to sum up Trump's week, subpoenaed, allegations of insurrection, found by judge to have signed false statement, deposed on allegation of rape, Bannon sentenced to 4 months, Barack on trial, Graham ordered to testify, Trump organization fraud trial to open next week. That's the title. So and then there's a status within that. So let me bring that down so I can put that. Is that any different? No, I think that's just a bigger version of it, which you can see much better. So let me bring up the bigger version of it so you can see it better. That'll help you read it off for yourself. So you can see that Peter Baker tweeted these things. I can make it bigger. Now you can maybe see it on a big screen. So that's the litany of things that Trump was subpoenaed for the insurrection. Found by judge to have signed false statement, deposed on allegation of rape, Bannon sentenced to 4 months. Barrack on trial. I said Barack. That's incorrect. It's Barrack, Barrack. It did confuse me. I was like, why did it seem that way? And Graham ordered to testify, and Trump organization fraud trial opens next week. So yeah, there's what was in his tweet, and that's in an easier form, hopefully, to see from home. So you expect him to delay everything. You do, human up being. Andrea thinks they're going to bombard Trump with everything they got and try to trap him in a corner. And human up being says, I invite people to prove me wrong that he can delay and get out of everything. We shall indeed see. Wes Webb says the QAnon want to talk about these things. Inflation and blame it on Biden. Passion requires only everything, says Human Up Being. Yeah, you have to put your everything into fighting against these sort of things. Catherine Northerner said, I blame Hugo Chavez Ghost for messing with election machines. That's a joke. So what was the thing I was going to show you earlier? Kelly says the only reason the Dems would lose is because of the inflation. That's all they have is a bargaining chip, basically, to try to get you to vote for Republicans. Well, that and their stance on abortion to their voters. They'll also cite the border wall. Kelly cast her vote for Governor Newsom. They'll cite the border wall. In fact, these Florida Republican commercials always talk about the border wall, the giving of federal funds to illegals, and so on. You know, they just talk about that. The border wall, the election, the money to illegals, which isn't true. All the different things. So Human Being says, we know that the MAGA movement is evil, right? In its own intention, it's obvious. Yes. And asked what the problem is here. The problem is that the people that believe the MAGA movement believe that they're fighting everyone else that's evil. So that's the problem. Benny Loco says to vote. Yep. She even painted it on her car. Trump makes false claims that they're emptying prisons into our country. Yes, Benny Loco has blue hair to support voting blue. It's like a constant reminder of which side you should vote for. And her hair is pretty blue. So what was the one that I was looking up earlier? It was something on Ron Filipowski's. Let me go back there and find it again, because it was different than the ones that Andrea sent me. So quickly find it. So what was it? It was earlier. was hours ago, I know that. Guns at voting boxes. Thank you, Kelly. That was what I was looking for. See if I can search his tweets and find it really quick. See if there's a search engine at the top. No, I don't have a search on there. So Ron Filipowski, guns at voting box. I mean, there is a different one. The first hit actually shows this person. So this is by Eric Rosen on Twitter. Oh, okay. So this is actually a story. Yeah, that's good. We'll use that. Share screen. So this is Arizona. Tensions high after armed individuals reportedly watched box in Mesa, Arizona. And it's a video. Don't know how long it'll take before it plays. But the caption below it reads, on Saturday night, there was a group of 4 people watching the ballot box in Mesa, and 2 were armed with concealed
to a hub
handguns.
of adventure, to toast new beginnings, to soar, to score. Take a new trail to Cliff Castle Casino, closer to it all.
And tonight, with what we are seeing at ballot drop boxes, the county chairman and recorder releasing a strongly worded statement tonight saying uninformed vigilantes outside of county drop boxes are not increasing election integrity.
Those people carrying guns and covering their faces were back at the juvenile court in Mesa tonight. Sheriff's deputies were called out there last night. Reporter Cristiana Ramos live in Mesa with the county's response tonight. Cristiana?
Holly, the sheriff's office says the 2 armed individuals from last night were outside of the 75 limit here at the Maricopa County Juvenile Court building, and we're told they weren't breaking any laws. Now, when we arrived tonight, there was a group of 4 people out here watching the ballot box. 2 were armed with concealed handguns. But tonight there was a confrontation that we witnessed. We spoke to an activist who says she came out to watch the watchers and make sure voter intimidation wasn't happening. Take a listen to what she says happened when she tried to take down their license plates.
He chased over at me and pushed me and grabbed me as I was pulling the cloth off of his license plate to videotape his license plate. And I just felt fair is fair. They're videotaping, voters' license plates. So I didn't think it was really a big deal to video or take a photograph of their license plates. They're not trying to see if somebody's ballot stuffing. They're trying to intimidate voters. They're trying to keep people away from the ballot box.
In a joint statement from Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Chairman Bill Gates and Recorder Stephen Riker said Uninformed vigilantes outside Maricopa County's drop boxes are not increasing election integrity. Instead, they're leading to voter intimidation complaints. Although monitoring and transparency in our elections is critical, voter intimidation is unlawful, and they say they will do anything to protect voters, election workers, and the elections. Now, clearly tensions were high for a time out here. That group of people did leave, and we haven't seen them since. In Mesa, Cristiana Ramos, Arizona's Family.
Christiana, thank you. Now, if you experience any kind of voter intimidation or threatening behavior at the polls or a ballot drop box, you're encouraged to report it. We have a link of all the details on our website, azfamily.com.
Okay, so that was a Channel 3 in the, I guess, Mesa, Arizona area. But that is actually a news report. So, you know, she tried to pull off what they had on the back of their cars, and the picture that Ron Filipowski shared showed them, they had like a flag over the license plate. And it was, reason I saw it is because it was something that Andrea commented on, retweeted on earlier today. And so, you know, apparently they're, not only are they there with guns, but they're hiding their license plates so nobody can figure out who they are. And, you know, they're there to watch the boxes to see who is going through there, you know. And, you know, they're there with their guns to watch who's going to the boxes. Like somehow they're going to arbitrarily decide who can and cannot go to those boxes. Really sad. Really, really sad. Probably trying to intimidate people that they think are illegals. So. Andrea asks, what does she remind you of, the woman in the video? She looks like a nun, so, you know, she's dressed like a nun. I don't know if she actually is a nun, so curious. If that happened in Ireland, police would arrest them, says Casper. Andrea says it's going to be like that everywhere. Sadly. Yep. Intimidation. Because Trump enabled it. He made it the norm for people that believe in that false elections lie. Okay. Not a nun. Benny Loco knows what I'm referring to. Okay. Casper says we have strict laws against terrorism here. Even if you have gun license, you couldn't brandish it on the streets. And that's in Ireland. Yes, Webb, it's a very big lie what Trump has perpetuated. So, any more thoughts? Any more things you want to see? Or are we winding this one up for the weekend? Lies were always there. They're more obvious and yet that much more infectious. I have no explanation. Well, that's the thing about a series of lies. And I showed the one about the marbles and the one about Trump leaning toward the cult. So those are ones I've already shown. So I did check the email, but those are ones I already had shown. So anything else? Final thoughts? Or do you want to just come back next week? Andrea's got another one. So there's another one from Andrea. Okay, so this one is coming in from Andrea. That is one of the and another one is coming in too. So the description from Hal Sparks says Hank bet Laney walnuts and Gene the Jesus machine that he could get these idiots dizzy. It was a trick. They were already dizzy. And the original tweet says Christian Fascists propaganda is terrifying. This has replaced churches across the South, across the entire country. So bring it up to big size.
Let's just all begin to turn around. God, we speak and declare over the United States of America, over this time that you have chosen of the midterm elections, in this time in our country, in this time in our nation. Lord, as we turn, we say things shift. We say things turn to righteousness, to justice, Lord, to truth. We say things turn back to the way of a divine reset and a rebirthing of this nation once again.
We bind every effort that the enemy would do to distort, to deceive, to lie and steal. We say, Lord, give us angelic hosts, many of them, to go to work for us. Send Michael if you have to. Do whatever it takes to stop any cheating, any lying, anything that the enemy would do to steal this. And now, Lord, as you hover, you release revelation. So we're asking you to hover over over this state and speak to people who are in the balance. We're asking you to hover over their mind and break deception and darkness off of them and bring light to them and turn the tide and give us sweeping victory in the state of Arizona. And we ask it in the name of Jesus.
Let's just all be.
Sorry, I took my camera out of there for a second to get it off screen so you could see the source was Flashpoint on that video. Okay, there's another one here that came from Andrea. So is this a video that I'm going? Oh, it's just a picture. Okay, so this is a picture. This is one of Hal's. And it reads, on the other hand, maybe if Jim Jones had access to tons of cringy t-shirts and Halloween costumes, all his followers would have died of natural causes on a pineapple farm / elder care orgy facility. And the description reads, but it's not a cult. And this is how the lady is dressed. Human enough being says, mocking them, please, O Lord, indoctrinate me harder than this guy in thy holy name, I beg of thee. And then he asks of them, what the F are you people thinking? Hi, Amy. Casper Northerner says it's the first verse of Steppenwolf Monster about that, the separation. Human F Being says that was a decent album. Benny Loco shared some things for you in chat, so some links that you should probably check out. Yes, Casper, I knew you meant separation of church and state. Amy says you popped up on my feed. Well, I'm glad. It's nice that I somehow popped up with tonight's description. That proves that I'm actually giving it a good description. Penny Loco says that I'm getting noticed by YouTube. That would be nice. There's another one coming in from Andrea. So this one is from Bob Seska, and it says, and then there's the airplane peanuts. There used to be a dozen peanuts. Hang on. Stop. Stop playing. Shut up. Don't say anything. You're not on the screen yet. And then there's the airplane peanuts, Bob Seska writes. There used to be a dozen peanuts in a packet. Now there are less. It's a disgrace. Who are these people? The original description says the rally wound down with Trump whining about airports and flight delays over QAnon music. Very normal stuff. So Let's see what he had to say. And YouTube, please don't give me a copyright strike if he uses music.
By sick and demented people. A nation whose once revered airports are dirty, crowded mess. You sit and wait for hours and then are notified that the plane won't leave and they have no idea when they will, where ticket prices have tripled. They don't have the pilots to fly the planes. They don't have qualified air traffic controllers, and they just don't know what they're doing.
Who exactly is it that doesn't know what they're doing? I would say it's that guy with the red hat on the stage. Except he does seem to know what he's doing when it comes to twisting the minds of people that show up to watch his rally. So anyway. Benny Loca says you only pop up in feeds because they are watching. And his voice makes me puke. Yes. Andrea says in response to you only pop up in feeds because they're watching. Yes, Benny Loco, which is a good thing. I heard they play the cue music now at his rallies, says Casper. Human Up Being says Carlin talked about hats. What the fuck the hell is he talking about? I think this is a good one. What the fuck the hell is he talking about? I think Trump is basically devolving into a Seinfeld skit where he is listing his grievances wherever he goes. So he is becoming the king of, what is it they used to say on Seinfeld? The one that the father made up on Seinfeld. He's the king of that holiday. Hal has made it bearable to listen to that voice. Yep. George Carlin. Yeah, I'm not sure what Carlin said about hats. He did a diatribe on how different zealots have different hats. Okay. Festivus, thank you. Festivus, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Trump is the poster boy for Festivus because he lists his grievances wherever he goes. Seriously, I never saw any of that. No, I didn't see a whole lot of Carlin. I've mostly seen clips of Carlin from whatever, and I only had cable from 1997, 98. From 1998 to 2011, I had cable in my house. So whatever I saw on cable is whatever I saw of Carlin that was like old replays or whatever. My biggest Carlin thing is Hippy Dippy Weatherman. Tonight's forecast is mostly dark. And the words you can't say on television and the radio. I'm a troglodyte. I remember the troglodyte. What's a troglodyte? That's a thing I remember. Troglodyte. A hermit. A person who is regarded as being deliberately ignorant or old-fashioned. Ha ha ha. Not necessarily. It's just that I lived in a house that only had broadcast television and had a patriarch who didn't want cable in the house, even when I had a job and could afford it. So I couldn't get cable until he died. And I didn't get cable long after he died because of what money was being spent on. So it was kind of just that. He's on YouTube. I need to watch it. Yeah. The only problem is I have to stop watching all the stuff I am watching on YouTube in order to watch comedy. Maybe I will. Amy says, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you. It's almost 10 o'clock. There just isn't enough time in the day. Well, in some cases, that's true, you know. There's certain people that want you to spend time with them, and you just sort of like do a lot of looking at certain things, or there's sleeping or whatever. So, yeah, I used to have friends growing up in high school who all throughout high school were watching Saturday Night Live. I started watching it later, and other friends. I think my friend's article in the school newspaper is what convinced me that I wanted to watch Saturday Night Live. 20 thumbs up and not too shabby. Yep, that's pretty good because we have 11 viewers right now. And I think one of those is Andrea on Twitch, just to see if anybody's on Twitch. So, or we have a Twitch viewer who's not saying anything. But we have 10 viewers on YouTube. So some people must have stopped by and clicked a like and moved on. Ted Cruz is going to be on The View. Yuck. Strong Christian house code kept you from 80s hair bands. Well, in my case, Amy, I didn't go see Vans until later. And Scotty says, Ken, the brain needs a break. Comedy helps. Yeah, but see, the comedian that I really got into was different. You know, like I had different comedians that I got into. And I had local radio comedians, people that were on the local radio that I was kind of listening to that were funny. So that was kind of what I was doing. So I might not have had cable in my house, but I had funny people on the radio. So okay, Wes, if you have to go brown some burgers so you can make your chili, by all means do that. And that's important to have food for later. It reminds me I have to do that this week too. And Vinny Loco is sharing Michael Cohen on Twitter for those of you on YouTube. So all on YouTube who are actually watching this, check out Michael Cohen because he's got an interesting take on Trump. So what do you think is going on with some of our regulars tonight? Because I see a couple of people missing tonight that are not here. You think they're all at Sexy Liberal last night and they're tired? Like, did you just like see that all the other people that are not here tonight are people that you knew were going to watch Sexy Liberal either in person or online? Just kind of wondering where they are tonight. Because I sent out notes that told people that we were coming on tonight. Some people are not here, so. Yeah, the sexy liberal was last night, so they may have been tired out from the long haul of that. So I didn't go. I didn't have time to watch it, and so I just didn't even bother to buy it. Have you been catching up on the Ben Meisel's YouTube videos? Very informative. I look at some of them when they come through, specific ones, or when there's no feed of my favorite shows like House Sparks or whatever. I look at some of their videos, and you feel like you're getting a law degree. Yeah, that's possible. You really do learn a lot on their shows. That and Legal AF. And DeSantis and Chris debate. Okay. Let's see when that is. DeSantis. Oops. I guess it would help if I typed on the right. DeSantis. Chris debate. Okay. And see if that's got the date on it, whether we can look at that. It was rescheduled. So I will bring that up. It's on October 24th, so let's bring that up. Which is tomorrow. So a televised date between the two gubernatorial candidates, DeSantis and Christ, and is taking place on Monday, October 24th, which is tomorrow. It was originally supposed to take place last Wednesday, and it's held at 7 p.m. tomorrow in Eastern Time at the Sunrise Theater in Fort Pierce and broadcast on local TV stations across the state. So there's also a thing that came in just now from Andrea, and I don't know if that's the same thing. So let's see. I think it's a Politics Girl video. So I'll bring that up next. But the debate is tomorrow night, 7 p.m. in Eastern Time. Can be found at floridadebate2022.com. So that would be 7 p.m. Eastern for everybody in Eastern Time. Would be 6 p.m. Central for those that are in the Panhandle portion of Florida or anybody in Central Time in general. It would be 5 p.m. Mountain and 4 p.m. Pacific. So if you go to that floridadebate2022.com, you can watch it, or if your local station in Florida carries it. And there was a list of stations on a different website. I'll probably hunt those up. So let's see what I can find on that while I bring in this other thing that Andrea sent. So let me take this out. And I will bring in the thing that Andrea just sent. This is a Politics Girl video that I'm going to bring in here. So, not going to be, yeah, I guess that can stay in there. It won't hurt anything. Bring it up later. So here's the Politics Girl video. Make it bigger.
Right now we hear that Biden is either a cheating monster who wants to take over the world with his woke, communist, nightmare, socialist hellscape, or he's an incompetent, deluded old man who doesn't know where he is or what he's doing most of the time. Both are wrong. Biden not only knows exactly what he's doing, he knows who he's doing it for, and that's the American people. But if you're having trouble putting your finger on exactly what he's done, let's broad strokes it so we can stop with this ridiculous narrative that doesn't help anyone but Republican candidates trying to get elected on lies. Okay, so Biden came into office in January 2021, right after the first insurrection in this country's history, and under a cloud of suspicion cast on him by the previous president that he wasn't the rightful leader. But instead of getting bogged down by all that drama, he rose above and from day one spent his time and political capital addressing the pressing issues facing the nation. With the pandemic top of mind, he immediately passed the COVID relief bill, managed the successful cross-country vaccine rollout, staved off economic collapse with things like rent freezes and eviction moratoriums and stopping student loan payments and cutting childhood poverty by 40%. He got America back into the Paris Climate Accord and healed our relationships with our NATO allies, which would serve him a year later when he would rally those same allies against Russia's despicable war against Ukraine. Despite being told it was impossible, Biden was able to pass a bipartisan infrastructure bill. So after decades of hearing about our crumbling infrastructure, the Biden administration actually passed a $1.2 trillion infrastructure package that authorized the federal government to spend money on roads and bridges and highways and airports and train stations, as well as bringing universal broadband to every American citizen and removing all the lead pipes that were slowly poisoning us. He signed the PACT Act, which will provide health care and benefits to veterans exposed to burn pits in Afghanistan and Iraq. He signed the CHIPS Act, designed to strengthen American-made manufacturing, advanced computing, quantum information technologies, and biotech. So we'll have more homegrown jobs in high tech right here, and we can stop shipping jobs overseas to strengthen the economies of countries that pose a national security threat. Biden also passed the most significant gun control bill in 30 years. Authorized the assassination of the head of al-Qaeda, and forgave all or part of the student loans of 43 million borrowers, most of whom make under $75,000 a year and were trapped in a cycle of debt. Finally, he passed the Inflation Reduction Act, the single biggest investment in the climate in the country's history, but also a bill that will allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices, bringing costs down, capping out-of-pocket expenses for seniors, and establishing a $35 cap on insulin. The bill also imposes an internationally negotiated minimum tax rate on billion-dollar companies, so they can no longer avoid paying taxes. It increases the funding for the IRS, so the very richest Americans can't continue to cheat the rest of us out of trillions of dollars in unpaid taxes. The country is in a job boom, has historically low unemployment, and Biden just issued an executive order to safeguard access to reproductive health care that is being attacked right across the country. He's created more manufacturing jobs than any president in decades, fulfilled his promise of putting a stellar Black woman on the Supreme Court, and just announced a plan to end hunger in America by 2030. Sure, gas prices went up, but they've also went down for 14 weeks straight. America has nearly 10 million new jobs, and the deficit is on track to fall by $1.5 trillion this year, the biggest single drop in U.S. history. To contrast that with the last administration, the deficit went up every single year Trump was in office. You hear how the Democrats wanted to fund the police, but it was the Biden Democrats who voted to increase funding for law enforcement when every single Republican voted against it. We hear about how the borders are open, but the Border Patrol and DHS under Biden has seized tens of thousands of pounds of drugs this month alone, and apprehensions are up across the board. In fact, the 2023 border policy is almost 600 pages long and includes $17.5 billion from America, with Biden getting Mexico to agree to throw in $1.5 billion to even it out. Under Biden, Medicare premiums are set to decrease. There is a plan to crack down on junk credit cards and excessive bank fees, and they've made a new rule to require airlines to be more transparent about the fees they charge the passengers. So the Republicans can go on and on about Biden's radical agenda and how it's ruining the country, but we should know by now that just saying something doesn't make it true. If it did, Trump would still be president. And none of the great things I just told you about would have ever happened. Trying to remember that when you vote in November.
Okay. Be safe, Wes. Don't know if this gave a list of stations. There was a different article earlier that gave a list of stations, but that article is probably missing now. I think maybe also possibly C-SPAN is going to show that debate though, because they wrote up about it. So let's see if they do. C-SPAN, Florida governor debate. See if they have that on there. So there's the Florida Press Association. Yeah, you can probably see the Florida debate just as it is here. So I'm going to copy this link to chat. So that's where you would go to see the Florida debate. You would go to cspan.org and /organization $38481 /Florida-Press-Association. And you would find all of the debates by that agency up there. If you don't find it on a local channel because you don't live in Florida, or if you just don't have a means to watch the local channel. So anyway. And Andrea is leading the charge to vote, 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 with her blue hearts telling you to vote blue. This is a true statement. Facts are useless to maggots' ears. All they want to hear is how they are victims, for fuck's sake. Yep. This is a great sign to see. Human F. Being says, I do vote. I have voted. I will vote again. And again. Okay, folks, it's been a great show. I want to wrap this one up, put this one in the record books, and see you next week. So thank you so much for joining us for Freedom, Speech, and You. I'm sure that all of you that are here right now tonight have hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if this is your first time. or if you forgot to do that before, so that you can get the notifications when YouTube sends them out. And let the others know about this show. And we're going to probably have more guests when Andrea gets the guest books. So she's going to be booking guests. And always, Andrea is going to be behind the scenes producing the show, providing input on what we will talk about, even though she has lost her voice for the foreseeable future. She's working on it, but we're wishing her all the best, and we're glad to have her behind the scenes. And to our mods, Andrea, Betty Loco, and Mod Star, thank you very much. Always good to have you here. Obviously, we're having a quiet chat because we have really good mods and we have really good people here. So keep coming back. And to our friends that are missing tonight and watch later, thank you for watching too. Thank you all for watching and participating in Freedom Speech and You. And I'll see you here again next week with topics of your choosing. Have a good one. Find that close.